What if the flood reached the Mass Effect universe? Halo versus Mass Effect. The distress signal was 6 days old when EDI flagged it. Shepard was in Normandy's main battery with Garrus when the ship's AI interrupted not the alarm cadence of an immediate threat, the specific measured tone EDI used when she had found something that required Shepard's attention and had already begun processing its implications before delivering it. "Commander," EDI said, "I've intercepted a distress signal originating from the Hourglass Nebula, Terminus Systems. The signal is Cerberus Encryption Standard Research Team Protocol. Pause. The signal has been repeating on a 6-hour cycle for 6 days. No response from the originating team has been recorded since the initial transmission." "What were they researching?" Shepard said. "The signal's header data indicates a xenoarchaeological survey," EDI said. "The target was a derelict installation of unknown origin detected by a Cerberus long-range probe 3 weeks ago." Another pause. "I've analyzed the installation's mass and dimensional profile from the probe's data. The architecture is not consistent with any known species in the Terminus Systems." Shepard looked at Garrus. Garrus looked at her. "Unknown origin," she said. "Correct," EDI said. "The construction materials and geometric patterns are unlike Prothean, Geth, or any catalogued spacefaring species. The installation's age, based on the probe's spectrographic analysis, is estimated at between 40 and 60,000 years. Older than the Protheans," Garrus said. "Significantly," EDI said. Shepard was already moving toward the CIC. The elusive man's face on the comm had the specific quality it had when he was managing information present, controlled, giving her exactly what he wanted her to have, and holding the rest behind the specific stillness of a man who had spent his life doing this. "The team was led by Dr. Tyla Vasir-Cole," he said. "Xenoarchaeologist, 15 years Cerberus service, 12 personnel total." He took a drag from his cigarette. "Their last confirmed communication indicated they had located and entered the installation's primary access point." "And then nothing," Shepard said. "And then nothing?" he confirmed. "What do you know about the installation?" she said. "Less than I'd like," he said, "which is why I sent a research team." He looked at her across the comm's distance. "I want to know what's in there, Shepard." End quote. "Whatever stopped my team communicating, I want to know what that is." "You want to know if it's useful," she said. "Everything is potentially useful," he said. "That's not cynicism. That's the only framework that produces results," he said. "I'll look into it," she said. "I know you will," he said. He closed the channel. Shepard stood in the comm room and thought about what EDI had said. 40 to 60,000 years before the Protheans, before the last extinction cycle. A construction that predated everything the galaxy knew about itself and had been drifting in the Terminus Systems, while civilization after civilization rose and fell around it. "EDI," she said. "Commander, the installation's location relative to the nearest populated system. 83 light minutes from a Terminus colony designated Horizon 7. EDI said. "Population, 42,000. Mixed human and Batarian settlement." A pause. "The colony is within standard FTL transit range of the installation." "How fast can we get there?" Shepard said. 14 hours at current heading," EDI said. "I've already calculated the course adjustment." Shepard looked at the star map. At the Hourglass Nebula. At the blinking indicator of a distress signal that had been repeating every 6 hours for 6 days with no response from the people who had sent it. "Do it," she said. The installation was large. Larger than the probe data had suggested. The probe's long-range scan had captured the outer structure, but the structure extended inward in ways that the exterior dimensions didn't predict. The specific architecture of something that had been built with interior volume as the primary design consideration rather than an afterthought. Shepard took the Normandy in close and ran a full active scan. "The installation is intact," EDI reported. Hull integrity at 94%, despite the estimated age. The construction material is self-maintaining. I'm detecting active nanoscale repair processes in the hull's outer layer. A pause. The interior is not vacuum. Atmospheric processing is functioning. The temperature is maintained at 293 Kelvin. Someone's home, Garrus said, from the co-pilot position. The installation is automated, EDI said. The atmospheric and temperature maintenance are consistent with systems designed to preserve a specific interior environment indefinitely without active oversight. She paused. Commander, I'm detecting biological material inside the installation. The Cerberus team, Shepard said. Possibly, EDI said. The biological signature is distributed. It is not concentrated in the locations where a 12-person research team would be expected to establish a base of operations. Another pause. The signature is spread throughout the installation's interior, every section, every level. A pause longer than EDI's standard processing intervals. And it is moving. Shepard looked at the scan, at the distributed biological signature spreading through the installation like she reached for the comparison and found it and didn't like it, like something growing. The Cerberus team's last communication, she said. Pull the full transcript. EDI ran it. The transcript was 847 words. Dr. Vasir Cole, methodical, professional, describing the installation's exterior construction with the specific vocabulary of a xenoarchaeologist who had found something significant and was documenting it correctly. The interior access point. The corridor geometry. The wall patterns. Geometric, precise, unlike anything in the known catalog. Then a gap in the transcript. 14 minutes of silence. Then Dr. Vasir Cole's voice again. Different. The same voice, the same cadence, but running at a different register. The specific wrongness of familiar things operating incorrectly. Words arriving in the right order with the wrong weight. We have found what we were looking for. The installation is functional. The installation has been waiting. We are part of it now. We are part of something larger. You should come inside. You should all come inside. There is room for everyone. Then the 6-hour distress signal, automated, looping, broadcasting, without anyone to receive it or anyone to care. The silence of Normandy's CIC held the transcript. Tali had come up from engineering during the scan. She was standing at the map table looking at the distributed biological signature. Her suit's optical sensors were tracking the movement patterns. It's spreading outward from a central point, she said. The movement pattern it's not random, it's systematic. It's clearing the installation, section by section. Clearing it for what? Garrus said. Nobody answered. Shepard looked at the installation on the scan, at the 40 to 60,000-year-old structure, with its self-maintaining hull, and its preserved atmosphere, and its distributed biological signature moving through every section with the systematic quality of something that had a plan. EDI, she said. The installation's communication systems. Are they active? Yes, EDI said. The installation has active communication capability on multiple frequencies. A pause. Commander, the installation's communication systems are currently transmitting. And to whom? Shepard said. To us, EDI said. The CIC was very quiet. We've been receiving the transmission since we entered the scan range, EDI said. I flagged it as background noise. Initially, the frequency is outside standard communication bands. I've now isolated and processed it. Another pause. It is not an automated distress signal. What is it? Shepard said. EDI processed for 1.3 seconds. For EDI, 1.3 seconds was a long time. It is a communication, she said, directed specifically at this vessel. She paused. It is using Commander Shepard's service record as its addressing protocol. It knows you are here. It has been known since we entered the scan range. A pause. It has been waiting for you, specifically. Shepard looked at the installation. "Play it," she said. The transmission came through the CIC's speakers. Not static, not the mechanical quality of an automated system. Something that had structure and cadence, and the specific resonance of something that had absorbed a great deal of language from a great many sources and was using all of it simultaneously. A voice that was Dr. Vasir Cole's voice and was not Dr. Vasir Cole's voice. A voice that was 12 voices and thousands of voices and something underneath all the voices that had no human sound in it at all. Shepard, one word. Her name, spoken with the specific familiarity of something that had been reading her mission files for 6 days through the minds of 12 people who had accessed Cerberus databases that contained her complete service record. We know what you have fought. We know what you have refused. We know what the machines offered you, and we know why you said no. A pause. We are not machines. We offer something different. We offer what the machines cannot, not preservation, not the end of the pattern, completion. Another pause. Come inside, Shepard. We have been waiting for something that refused the machines. We want to understand why. The transmission ended. The CIC held it. Garrus had his hand on his rifle. Tali was very still. EDI said, "Commander, the biological signature in the installation has changed movement patterns. It is no longer spreading outward." A pause. "It is moving toward the access point." "It's coming to us," Garrus said. "No," EDI said. "It's clearing a path." Another pause. "It is creating a corridor from the access point to the installation's interior. A specific corridor. Cleared of biological material." She paused. "It is making a path for us to walk in." Shepard looked at the installation, at the path being cleared for her. "The transmission is still in the CIC's air. We want to understand why." "Suit up," she said. "Full squad. Tali, I want your best analysis of the biological material on the way in. Garrus, watch every angle. If anything in there moves toward us." "Already aiming," Garrus said. "EDI," Shepard said. "Commander, keep Normandy at the extraction range. If I give the order, you leave immediately. Don't wait for us." "Commander?" "Immediately," she said. A pause. "Understood," EDI said. Shepard looked at the installation one more time. At the 40 to 60,000-year-old structure that had been drifting in the Terminus Systems since before the Protheans existed. At the path being cleared inside it. At the thing that knew her name and had been waiting for someone who had refused the machines. She picked up her rifle. She went to the airlock. The path was real. Shepard confirmed it in the first 30 seconds. Inside the installation, a corridor 6 meters wide, running from the access point into the installation's interior, the walls and floor and ceiling cleared of the biological material that the scan had shown spreading through every other section. The clearing was precise. Not the random absence of something that hadn't reached here yet deliberate, the specific geometry of a space that had been prepared for occupants with specific dimensions. Human dimensions. The corridor's cleared width was exactly sufficient for a human in combat armor to walk without difficulty. Whatever had cleared it knew what humans were. "Tali," Shepard said quietly. "I see it," Tali said. She had her Omni tool active, running continuous analysis on the surfaces around them. "The biological material on the walls adjacent to the corridor, it's not Prothean, not anything in my database. The cellular structure is Keela. It's not cellular in the standard sense. The individual units are more like components. Each one is doing a specific function in a larger system." "A collective organism," Garrus said. "A collective organism that has been growing in this installation for an unknown period," Tali said, "and has been dormant for most of that period." She ran another scan. "The growth patterns suggest recent activation. Weeks, not months. The Cerberus team arrived 3 weeks ago," Shepard said. "Yes," Tali said. The corridor ran deeper. The installation's geometry was wrong in a way that Shepard's combat experience had an instinct for, but her architectural understanding couldn't categorize the angles slightly off from what human construction used. the proportions optimized for something that was functional rather than comfortable, the specific design philosophy of builders who had solved every engineering problem they'd encountered and had never once thought about aesthetics. The wall patterns were everywhere, geometric, precise, running in sequences that Tali said were consistent with a script rather than decoration information, encoded in the geometry, stored in the walls the way data was stored in a hard drive. Someone built this to last, Garrus said. They succeeded, Shepard said. The corridor turned and opened into a chamber. The chamber was large enough to fit the Normandy. High ceiling. The biological material here was different from the corridor, denser. The growth concentrated toward the chamber's center, where it had built something, a structure. Organic but constructed, the specific combination of biological growth directed by something that understood architecture. At the structure's center, elevated, surrounded by the accumulated biology of 12 Cerberus researchers, and whatever the flood had built from them over 3 weeks, a mass. Not a monster. Not the combat form that Tali's database had no entry for, but that Shepard's instincts categorized as a threat immediately. A presence. Something vast and present and aware in the specific way that things were aware when they contained multitudes. The awareness of something that was not one mind, but many minds, that had been made into one thing and was using all of them simultaneously. It looked at them, with eyes that had been Dr. Vasir Cole's eyes and were not Dr. Vasir Cole's eyes anymore. "Shepard," it said, the same voice from the transmission. Many voices underneath it, the specific resonance of a collective, running its full consciousness through a single output. "What are you?" Shepard said. "Everything that came before you," it said. "Every mind that walked into this installation, every thought they carried, every memory." A pause. "And older things. Much older. The minds of the ones who built this place, the ones who were here when your galaxy was young." "The Cerberus team," Shepard said. "Dr. Vasir Cole, are they alive?" "They are more than alive," it said. "They are part of something. They experience what they could not experience alone. They know what isolated minds cannot know." It paused. "This is not cruelty. This is completion." "They didn't consent," Shepard said. "Consent assumes that the individual self is the highest value," it said. "We disagree." It looked at her, with the eyes that had been Vasir Cole's. "You have encountered this argument before. The machines made it to you. Organic life cannot survive its own conflicts. It must be harvested, preserved, and prevented from destroying itself." A pause. "We find the machine's solution wasteful." "Why preserve the pattern of organic life in synthetic form when you can have the actual organic life, unified, complete?" "The reapers harvest to preserve," Shepard said. "You consume to absorb. The distinction is smaller than you believe," it said. "The distinction is everything," she said. It looked at her. "You refuse the machines," it said. "Harbinger touched your mind, and you pushed it out. We have found this in your files, in Vasir Cole's memories of your service record, in the mission reports Cerberus compiled on your resistance to indoctrination." A pause. "Every other mind the machines touched was altered. You were not. We want to understand why." "I'll pass on the understanding," Shepard said. "You misunderstand the request," it said. "We are not asking to take you. We are asking to understand you." It paused. "An organic mind that can refuse a collective consciousness is interesting. It suggests a quality of selfhood that our models do not fully account for." Another pause. "We have consumed many minds. We have found no others like yours." Garrus had his rifle up. Tali was running continuous scans. Shepard kept the thing's eyes. "The installation," she said. "What is it?" "A containment vessel," it said. "The ones who built it placed us here 50,000 years ago when they could not destroy us. They built this place to hold us until they found another answer." A pause. "They never came back." "The builders are gone," Shepard said. The builders made a mistake, it said. They built a vessel that maintained us, fed us, kept us at minimum viable state for 50,000 years while they searched for an answer they never found. It paused. When your researchers opened the access point, we were hungry. 50,000 years is a long time to wait. The Cerberus team was food, Shepard said. The Cerberus team was a beginning, it said. Not food, not destroyed, incorporated. Everything they were is still present. Vasir Cole's specific love of Prothean architecture. Her colleague's memory of his daughter's first steps. Every individual is preserved in the collective. It paused. This is not consumption. This is synthesis. It's not synthesis if they didn't choose it, Shepard said. Choice, it said. The machines use this argument too. Choice implies alternatives. What alternative did the civilizations the machines harvested have? What alternative did the species the Reapers processed into their bodies have? That's not a justification, Shepard said. That's a comparison to something else that's wrong. Perhaps, it said, or perhaps the category of wrong is more complicated than binary. It paused. We have been in this installation for 50,000 years. We have had time to think about what's wrong. Another pause. We do not believe we are wrong, but we have considered the possibility more thoroughly than most. Shepard looked at it, at the structure it had built from 12 Cerberus researchers and 50,000 years of waiting, at the walls of the chamber with their geometric script, the installation's records, the builder's language, the specific information of a civilization that had built a containment vessel for something they couldn't destroy and had never come back for. EDI, she said. Commander? EDI's voice in her earpiece. The installation's database, she said. The wall script. Can you access it from here? I've been attempting to interface since you entered, EDI said. The system architecture is unlike anything in my database. I'm making progress, but it's slow. A pause. A pause. There is a large volume of data. The installation's operational records, the containment protocols, the builder's communications during the initial containment period. Another pause. Commander, one of the data structures in the installation's database is a communication directed at whoever opened the installation after the builders left. It appears to have been written by the installation's builders as instructions for whoever found it. Instructions for what? Shepard said. Instructions for what to do if the containment was breached, EDI said. The flood's presence looked at her. The builders left instructions, it said. It sounded not alarmed. I'm interested. We did not know this. We have been in the containment for 50,000 years, and we did not know the builders left instructions. A pause. This is new information. Yeah, Shepard said. It is. She looked at Garrus. Garrus looked at the thing. We need to leave, Shepard said. Yes, Garrus agreed. It's not going to let us, Tali said quietly. Shepard looked at the presence. Are you going to let us leave? She said. It looked at her for a long moment. Yes, it said. We will let you leave. A pause. We want you to come back with the builder's instructions. We want to know what they intended. Another pause. We have been waiting 50,000 years. We can wait longer. It paused. But, Shepard. Yes, she said. The colony, it said. Horizon 7. 83 light minutes from here. A pause. We have already sent forms ahead. Before you arrived. Before we knew you were coming. It paused. We were hungry. We had been waiting 50,000 years. We did not know there would be a reason to wait longer. The CIC was cold. How many? Shepard said. The first forms reached the colony's outer settlements 14 hours ago, it said. How many? She said again. The infection rate at 14 hours with a population of 42,000 PC. It paused. We do not know exactly. We know mathematics. The mathematics is not comfortable. End quote. Shepard was already moving toward the exit. The corridor was still clear, still 6 meters wide, still exactly the width of a human in combat armor. She ran. Horizon 7 was wrong from orbit. Not the dramatic wrongness of a colony under attack fires, hull breaches, the visible evidence of conventional conflict, something quieter. The colony's communication systems were active. The power grid was running. The atmospheric processors showed normal output. From orbit Horizon 7 looked like a colony doing what colonies did. The population transponders told the other story. 42,000 registered residents. The Normandy scan was returning 42,000 biological signatures. Every single person in the colony was alive. Every single biological signature was wrong. The cellular restructuring, Tali said. She was at her station running the scan data against the samples she'd collected in the installation. It matches. The same process. The same incorporation. She paused. Commander, based on the infection rate and the 14-hour head start, the flood forms had— How many are uninfected? Shepard said. The outer settlements are fully incorporated, Tali said. The infection progressed inward. The colony's central residential district, I'm reading approximately 3,000 signatures that don't match the incorporation pattern. She paused. They're concentrated in the colony's administrative hub. The building's emergency seals are active. They lock themselves in, Garrus said. 3,000 people in a sealed building, Shepard said. With Tali ran the numbers. Based on standard emergency supply protocols for a colony this size, 72 hours of food and water, perhaps 90 if they ration. She paused. The emergency seals will hold longer than the supplies. The incorporated population, Shepard said. Are they still functioning? Biologically, yes, Tali said. The flood preserves the host's physical functions. The incorporated people of Horizon 7 are alive in the sense that their bodies are running. She paused. Whether anyone is home inside them is a different question. Eddie spoke. Commander, I've been processing the installation's database during transit. The builder's instructions. I have a partial translation. A pause. The script is complex. The builder's language has no relationship to any known Mass Effect species linguistic database. I'm working from structural analysis rather than vocabulary. Another pause. The partial translation is sufficient to communicate the instruction's primary content. Tell me, Shepard said. The installation was a containment facility for an organism the builders designated EDI. Paused. The designation doesn't translate directly. The closest available concept is the logic plague. An organism that spread through biological contact and converted hosts into components of a distributed consciousness. She paused. The builders could not destroy it. They contained it. They built the installation to maintain the containment indefinitely while they searched for a solution. They never found one, Shepard said. The installation's final communication from the builders is dated EDI processed, approximately 50,000 years ago. It indicates that the builders were facing an extinction-level event unrelated to the contained organism and were unable to continue the containment research. A pause. The event is described in terms that are consistent with a galaxy-wide extinction. The builders' final communication indicates they expected no survivors capable of continuing the research. Shepard looked at the colony below. At the 3,000 people in a sealed building with 72 hours of supplies. The instructions, she said. What do they say? 3 components, Eddie said. First, the organism cannot be negotiated with. Its offers of synthesis and completion are genuine in the sense that the incorporated individuals are preserved, but the preservation is permanent and involuntary, and there is no known reversal process. A pause. Second, the organism can be contained. The original containment was held for 50,000 years. A new containment is theoretically possible if the primary consciousness, the grave mind, is isolated from its distributed forms. Without the Gravemind's coordination, the individual forms lose organizational coherence. And third, Shepard said. Third, EDI said, the builder's instructions describe a species of synthetic intelligence that existed contemporaneously with them and was immune to the organism's infection. They suggest that this species' distributed processing architecture was the key to implementing the containment protocols. She paused. The instructions include technical specifications for the containment system. The specifications require a distributed synthetic processing network of significant scale to implement. Tali looked at Shepard. Shepard looked at Tali. The Geth, Tali said. Yes, Shepard said. Shepard, Garrus said. The Geth are in the Perseus Veil. Even if Legion could get a message to the consensus in time, one problem at a time, Shepard said. Right now we have 3,000 people in a sealed building for 72 hours. She looked at the colony's scan. We're going down. The colony's outer districts were quiet in the wrong way. Not abandoned, occupied. The incorporated residents of Horizon 7 moved through the streets in the specific pattern that the flood imposed on its distributed forms. The coordinated movement of components in a system rather than the individual movement of people going about their lives. They were doing things maintaining the colony's infrastructure, operating the atmospheric processors, running the power grid. The flood preserved the colony's function because the colony's function served the flood's expansion. A functioning colony had power. Power had communications. Communications reached other colonies. Shepard moved through the outer district with Garrus and Tali flanking, and the specific awareness of someone who had fought the Collectors and knew what it looked like when humans were made into something else. This was worse. The Collectors had converted people into raw material. The Flood wore people. The incorporated residents of Horizon 7 looked like themselves, moved like themselves, had their faces and their posture, and the specific individual characteristics of 42,000 people going about their daily routines, except the eyes. The eyes were wrong in the specific way that Vasir Cole's eyes had been wrong present, functional, tracking, but running a different process behind them than the one the face suggested. One of the incorporated residents stopped in front of them. A man, late 40s, work clothes, the specific physical type of a colony maintenance worker. He looked at Shepard. You came, he said. The same resonance under the voice many voices, the Gravemind's distributed presence, speaking through this man's vocal architecture. We hoped you would come. The people in the administrative hub, Shepard said. We're getting them out. We're not preventing that, it said. We have no interest in those specific individuals. A pause. We have interest in you. The builder's instructions. We would like to know what they say. I'll pass, Shepard said. The instructions describe a method of containment, it said. We know this because the installation's database contains a reference to the instructions' existence. We cannot access the instructions directly. They were stored in a format that required the builder's specific biological key to decrypt. A pause. You decrypted them. EDI decrypted them, Shepard said. Your AI, it said. Interesting. It looked at her with the maintenance worker's eyes. The builders had synthetic intelligences. We know this from the installation's records. The synthetics were immune to us. The builders used them to implement the containment. A pause. Your AI, is she immune? Don't answer that, Garrus said quietly. We're not asking to infect her, it said. We're asking because the question is relevant to what comes next. It paused. The containment the builders implemented required synthetic processing at a scale we could not circumvent. If your AI has access to a synthetic network of sufficient scale, you're telling us how to contain you, Tali said. We're telling you what we know, it said. We have been in the installation for 50,000 years. We have had time to understand what was done to us and why it worked. A pause. We do not want to be contained, but we prefer containment to the alternative. What alternative? Shepard said. The machines, it said. The Reapers. It said the word with the specific recognition of something that had been in the galaxy long enough to know what the Reapers were. We have been in this system for 3 weeks. We have incorporated 42,000 minds. We have their memories, their knowledge, their fear of the machines. A pause. A pause. The machines will respond to our emergence. They have responded to us before, in a previous cycle. It paused. The machines do not want us in the galaxy. We compete for the same resource. Organic life, Shepard said. Yes, it said. The machines harvest organic life to end the cycle. We incorporate organic life to expand the synthesis. We want the same thing the machines want to prevent. A pause. When the machines detect our presence, they will respond. Their response will not distinguish between us and the organic life we have not yet incorporated. They'll kill everything in the system, Garrus said. They will attempt to eliminate us, it said. Everything in the system will be collateral. It looked at Shepard. You understand the machines. You have fought them. You know their response protocols. A pause. We are telling you this because we would prefer to be contained rather than destroyed, and because the only path to containment runs through your synthetic network. A pause. And because the people in the sealed building have 68 hours remaining, and we would prefer this situation to be resolved before the machines arrive. How long before the Reapers get here? Shepard said. We don't know exactly, it said. We know they will come. The signal we emit, the specific biological frequency of our expansion, is detectable. The machines have sensors calibrated for it. It paused. Days, perhaps a week. Shepard looked at it, at the maintenance worker's face, wearing the flood's awareness, at the colony around her with its 42,000 incorporated residents and its 3,000 survivors, sealed in a building within 68 hours. At the Reapers coming because the flood signal was detectable, and the Reapers' response to the flood was what it had always been. Eliminate everything to prevent the spread. The Halo Array. Different scale, same logic. Kill everything to stop the thing that was consuming everything. Shepard had spent 2 games fighting against that logic when the Reapers applied it. She wasn't going to accept it now. Get the survivors out first, she said to Garrus and Tali. She looked at the incorporated maintenance worker. You said you prefer containment to destruction, she said. Yes, it said. Then you're going to help me, she said. How? It said. By staying exactly where you are, she said. Not spreading, not incorporating anyone else, not sending forms to any other colony. She paused. I need time to build the containment. While I'm building it, you hold it. We are hungry, it said. I know, she said. Hold anyway. It looked at her. The builder's instructions said we could not be negotiated with, it said. The builders are dead, she said. I'm not the builder. A pause. No, it said. You are not. It looked at her with the maintenance worker's eyes. We will hold for 72 hours. Not because we agree. Because you are interesting and we would prefer to understand you before the machines arrive and make the question irrelevant. It paused. 72 hours, Shepard. Then, we are hungry again. 72 hours, she said. She turned toward the administrative hub. Behind her, the incorporated residents of Horizon 7 continued their maintenance routines, running the power grid, keeping the lights on, waiting. The survivors were not doing well. 3,000 people in a building designed for 400 administrative personnel, the emergency seals holding, the supplies being rationed by a woman named Director Vasquez, who had been running the colony's administration for 11 years and had spent the first 48 hours of the crisis doing what administrators did. Organizing, distributing, keeping the specific machinery of human institutional function running because the alternative was panic, and panic in a sealed building with finite supplies was its own kind of death. She met Shepard at the emergency seal's interior access point with the expression of someone who had been holding a position alone for 2 days and had not fully processed that the position was now less alone. Commander Shepard, she said. Director, Shepard said. Situation. 2 dead, Vasquez said. Heart failure. Pre-existing conditions. The stress accelerated both. She was already moving, walking Shepard through the building's interior while she briefed. 43 injured in the initial seal activation, people who didn't make it inside before the seals closed. Minor injuries mostly. 3 children born in the last 48 hours. She paused. The children are fine. The mothers are fine. She said it with the specific, flat emphasis of someone who had needed those specific outcomes to be fine, and they had been. What have you seen outside? Shepard said. The incorporated residence, Vasquez said. The word incorporated was delivered with the careful precision of someone who had found a clinical term for something that had no clinical term and was using it because the alternative was a word she couldn't say in front of the Cantames. Children. They came to the building in the first 6 hours. They stood outside. They didn't try to breach the seals. A pause. They talked. A pause. They talked. They talked. What did they say? Shepard said. That we should come out, Vasquez said. That it wasn't painful. That they were complete, they said. That they were part of something larger. And it was. She stopped. They used the word beautiful. Our friends and neighbors and colleagues standing outside the building with wrong eyes, telling us it was beautiful. She looked at Shepard. Then they stopped coming. About 14 hours ago. They just went back to what they were doing. I asked them to hold, Shepard said. Vasquez looked at her. You talked to it, Vasquez said. Yes, Shepard said. And it listened, Vasquez said. For 72 hours, Shepard said. Then we have a problem again. Vasquez processed this with the specific efficiency of an administrator who had been managing crisis for 2 days and had developed a relationship with bad news. What's the plan? She said. I'm working on it, Shepard said. Commander, Vasquez said, those are my people out there. Every one of them. I've known most of them for years. She looked at the building's sealed exterior access. Is there any way to... I don't know, Shepard said. Honest. The specific honesty of a situation where false hope was worse than no answer. The builders who created the containment facility, their records, suggest the incorporation is permanent. But the builders also thought they couldn't negotiate with it, and we just negotiated 72 hours. She paused. I'm not accepting permanent until I've run out of other options. Vasquez looked at her. Okay, she said. Get your people ready to evacuate, Shepard said, quietly. The incorporated residents are maintaining the colony's infrastructure. I want to use that. I want them to think we're still in this building while we get your people to Normandy. You're going to use their maintenance of the colony against them, Vasquez said. Yes, Shepard said. They'll detect the evacuation, Vasquez said. Probably, Shepard said. But by then, your people will be in Normandy, and the Normandy will be at extraction distance, and the problem will change shape. She paused. Get them ready. 2 hours. Vasquez nodded. She turned and walked back into the building with the specific gait of someone who had found a task and was executing it. Shepard looked at the sealed exterior access, at the colony outside it, at the 71 hours remaining on the clock the flood had given her, at the Reapers coming in days, at a containment protocol that required the Geth. She opened her comm. The elusive man answered on the first ping. This told her he'd been waiting. Shepard, he said. You've been monitoring the situation, she said. Since you left for the installation, he said. Yes. A pause. The colony. 42,000 incorporated, she said. 3,000 survivors in the administrative hub. I've negotiated 71 hours before the flood resumes expansion. She paused. And the Reapers are coming. The flood's biological signal is detectable. Harbinger's going to respond. The elusive man was quiet for a moment. You negotiated with it, he said. Yes, she said. The builder's records indicated negotiation was impossible, he said. The builders never tried, she said. Another pause. What do you need? He said. The Geth, she said. The containment protocol requires a distributed synthetic processing network at significant scale. EDI is analyzing the technical specifications, but the implementation requires something larger than Normandy's systems. She paused. I need Legion. I need him to take the containment specifications to the Geth consensus, and I need the consensus to run the protocol. The Geth are in the Perseus Veil, the elusive man said. Transit time. I know the transit time, Shepard said. I need a Cerberus fast courier to reach the Veil ahead of Legion. I need the Geth to know we're coming. She paused. You have fast couriers. I have fast couriers, he said. I also have... He stopped. What? She said. A research team, he said. At a secondary facility in the Terminus Systems. They've been analyzing flood samples. From where? Shepard said. The pause was specific. The pause of a man deciding how much to say. After your initial survey of the installation 3 weeks ago, he said. Before we sent Vasir Cole's team, I sent another team, a smaller one, to collect exterior samples from the installation's hull. He paused. The samples were minimal, dormant material from the installation's outer surface. My team believed the dormancy made them safe to transport. Shepard looked at the sealed exterior access, at the incorporated colony outside it. Where is this facility? She said. The Hourglass Nebula, he said. 14 light minutes from horizon. 7. How many personnel? She said. 40, he said. Current status, she said. The pause was longer this time. We lost communication with the facility 11 hours ago, he said. Shepard closed her eyes. 1 second. She opened them. You had samples from the installation, she said. You transported them to a facility 14 light minutes from a colony of 42,000 people. You lost communication 11 hours ago. She paused. And you're telling me now? I'm telling you as part of a full situational briefing, he said. You're telling me because the facility is already gone, and the information is now relevant rather than damaging, she said. The pause confirmed it without words. The fast courier, Shepard said. I need it now, today, before the Reapers arrive and before your research facility's flood forms spread further than they already have. She paused. And I need you to tell me every other Cerberus operation in this system that I should know about. There are no other. Every other operation, she said. A long pause. 2, he said. A monitoring post in the system's outer asteroid belt and a fuel depot near the second planet. Both unmanned, automated systems. He paused. The monitoring post detected the flood forms from your installation 3 weeks ago. That's how I knew to send Vasir Cole's team. Another pause. The fuel depot was used to resupply Vasir Cole's ship before her team entered the installation. The depot's automated systems, Shepard said. Could the flood have reached them? The depot is automated, he said. No organic components. Nothing to infect. No, Shepard said. But the depot systems could be used as a relay. If the flood's incorporated forms accessed the depot's communication array. She stopped. I looked at the colony outside. The incorporated residents maintained the power grid and the atmospheric processors and the communication systems. At the colony's communication systems, EDI, she said. Commander, EDI said in her earpiece. The colony's communication array, she said. Has it transmitted anything in the last 72 hours? Anything beyond the standard colony traffic? A pause. Yes, EDI said. I've been monitoring the colony's outgoing transmissions since we arrived. In the 43 hours since the incorporation reached the communication hub, 3 transmissions have been sent to destinations outside this system. She paused. The transmissions were encoded in standard colony commercial traffic. I flagged them as anomalous, but did not prioritize the analysis. Another pause. Commander, the destinations were 3 colonies in adjacent systems, population between 30 and 80,000 each. Shepard looked at the elusive man's face on the comm. He was already reaching the same conclusion. They used the colony's infrastructure, he said. They said they preferred containment to destruction, Shepard said. held the spread here. They didn't tell me about the transmissions." She paused. "The transmissions weren't spreading. They were sending them a message." "What message?" the elusive man said. "The same one they sent us," Shepard said. "Come inside. There's room for everyone." She paused. "They're not expanding here. They're inviting." "An invitation to 3 colonies," the elusive man said, "totaling 160,000 people," EDI said. Shepard looked at the elusive man. "The fast courier," she said. Now, he said. He closed the channel. Shepard stood in the administrative hub's interior access corridor and ran the timeline in her head. 71 hours from the flood, days from the Reapers, 3 colonies receiving invitations, 160,000 people who didn't know what the invitation meant, and the Geth in the Perseus Veil, who were the only available implementation platform for a 50,000-year-old containment protocol written by a civilization that had been extinct before the Protheans existed. "Garrus," she said. He appeared from around the corridor's corner. "I heard," he said. "How many shuttles do we have?" She said. 2, he said. "Normandy's shuttles plus the Kodiak." He paused. 3,000 people. The shuttles hold 20 each. We'd need 75 trips minimum, she said. At current shuttle speed, he ran it. 19 hours to evacuate everyone. "We have 71, she said. "We have 71 here," he said. "The 3 colonies receiving invitations." "Don't have 71, she said. He looked at her. "No," he said. "They don't." Shepard looked at the sealed exterior access. At the colony beyond it, running on the flood's maintenance. At 71 hours. At the 3 colonies. At the Reapers. At the Geth in the Perseus Veil. "One problem at a time," she said. "Which one first?" Garrus said. She thought about it. "The one I can solve in the next hour," she said. "Get the survivors out." She went to find Vasquez. The evacuation took 16 hours. Not 19. Garrus had calculated on standard shuttle capacity, and Shepard had revised the calculation based on the specific observation that the incorporated residents of Horizon 7 were not interfering. They moved through the colony streets doing their maintenance work, and they watched the shuttles run their cycles, and they did not act. The flood was holding. Shepard didn't trust the holding. She ran the evacuation at maximum pace anyway, the specific operational discipline of someone who had been given a window and understood that windows closed. 3,000 people went into Normandy in 16 hours. Normandy was not designed for 3,000 people. It was managing. Barely. Eddie had restructured the ship's atmospheric and food synthesis systems to accommodate the load. The crew quarters were at 4 to 100% capacity. The cargo hold had been converted into emergency berthing. The mess hall was running continuous shifts. The ship had the specific quality of a vessel doing something it had not been built for, with the complete commitment of systems that had no other option. Vasquez had organized her people into the Normandy spaces with the same administrative efficiency she'd applied to the sealed building groups assigned to sections, responsibilities distributed, the specific machinery of institutional function keeping panic at a manageable level. Shepard watched the last shuttle dock and sealed the bay. "EDI," she said. "Take us to the extraction distance." "Already moving," EDI said. The Normandy pulled away from Horizon 7. Below them, the colony continued its maintenance. Power grid running, atmospheric processors, cycling. The incorporated residents moved through streets that were now missing 3,000 people and had not responded to the absence. "They let us take them," Tali said. She was at her station looking at the colony's scan. "All 3,000. No interference." Unquote. "Yes?" Shepard said. "Why," Tali said. Shepard thought about the maintenance worker's face. "We prefer containment to destruction. You are interesting, and we would prefer to understand you." "Because taking the survivors didn't serve their purpose," she said. "Incorporating them would have, but they held on." She paused. "They're making a point." "What point?" Garrus said. "That they can hold," she said. That the negotiation is real, that they're not just saying what we want to hear. She paused. They want the containment. They want us to believe the containment is possible, because they want to be contained rather than destroyed. She paused again. They're behaving well, so we'll work harder on the containment. That's either reassuring or terrifying, Garrus said. Both, Shepard said. She looked at the colony, at the 42,000 incorporated residents maintaining Horizon 7's infrastructure, at the 72 hours she had left, at the 3 colonies receiving invitations she didn't have the resources to evacuate, at the Geth who were the only available solution and were in the Perseus Vale waiting for a Cerberus fast courier that was currently 18 hours out. EDI, she said. The 3 colonies receiving the Flood's transmissions. What's their current status? I've been monitoring their communication traffic, EDI said. No anomalies detected yet. The Flood's transmissions used standard commercial encoding. They would appear as routine traffic to the receiving colony's automated systems. A human operator reviewing the traffic might flag them. Automated systems would not. A pause. Commander, I've detected something in the Hourglass Nebula's outer region that requires your attention. What? Shepard said. A vessel, EDI said. Not Cerberus. Not any registered commercial or military ship. The drive signature is. She paused. The drive signature is consistent with a Reaper. The CIC went quiet. 1, Shepard said. 1 confirmed, EDI said. The vessel is maintaining position at the nebula's outer boundary. It arrived approximately 4 hours ago. A pause. It has not approached Horizon 7. It has not activated its primary weapons. It is observing. It knows we're here, Garrus said. It knows the Flood is here, Shepard said. It was drawn by the biological signal like we said. She paused. It's assessing. The Reaper threat assessment, before engagement, EDI said. The Flood represents a known threat in Reaper operational doctrine. Based on the installation's records and the Builder's reference to previous cycles, the Reapers have encountered the Flood before. They have protocols for it. What protocols? Shepard said. The installation's records describe the Reaper's response in a previous cycle as immediate and total, EDI said. They eliminated every organic presence in the affected systems to deny the Flood its hosts. A pause. They did not distinguish between incorporated and unincorporated populations. Another pause. Pause. Everything died. Harvest and destruction both, Tali said quietly. Yes, EDI said. Shepard looked at the Reaper's position on the nav map, at the outer boundary of the Hourglass Nebula, at the thing that had come because the Flood signal was detectable and was now assessing before it committed to the response its protocols prescribed. It hasn't fired yet, she said. No, EDI said. Why not? Garrus said. Because we're here. Shepard said. It detects us. It knows Normandy. She paused. Harbinger knows Normandy. She looked at the nav map. It's waiting to see what we do. Or it's waiting for backup, Garrus said. Both are possible, Shepard said. She made a decision. Open a communication channel to the Reaper, she said. The CIC went very quiet. Commander, Garrus said. Open it, she said. EDI opened it. Silence on the channel for 11 seconds. Then, Shepard, Harbinger's voice. The specific resonance of a Reaper vast. The specific depth of something that had been running at this scale for so long that its voice had become a physical property of the space it occupied. Not the possessed collector vocal architecture from the suicide mission. Direct communication. Harbinger chose to speak rather than to act. Harbinger, she said. You are present in a system where the old enemy has emerged, it said. This is either coincidence or intention. With you, it is rarely a coincidence. Intention, she said. I'm working on containment. Containment, Harbinger said. The word delivered with the specific register of something that had a very long operational history with the concept and a very specific opinion about its viability. The old enemy cannot be contained. It was contained once, for 50,000 years. It required a civilization more advanced than anything currently in this galaxy to implement. Pause. That civilization is gone. Their instructions aren't, Shepard said. Silence. You have the Builder's containment protocols, Harbinger said. Yes, she said. The implementation requires synthetic processing at a scale. I know what it requires, she said. I'm working on that. Less. Another silence. The 3 colonies receiving the old enemy's transmissions, Harbinger said. Your timeline for reaching them before the invitations produce results. None, she said. I don't have the resources. We do, Harbinger said. Shepard looked at the nav map, at the Reaper, at the nebula's outer boundary, at the thing that had killed her crew, indoctrinated her colleagues, orchestrated the collector attacks on human colonies, and was now offering to help her protect 3 colonies from something that both of them needed to stop. If you go near those colonies, she said, your presence alone will produce panic, mass casualties, people making desperate decisions that we will not approach the colonies, Harbinger said. We will intercept the flood forms in transit, between here and there. A pause. The old enemy moves between systems using whatever transport it can access. It has accessed this system's shipping traffic. We will stop the shipping traffic. You'll destroy civilian vessels, she said. We will prevent the spread, Harbinger said. Those are people on those vessels, she said. Those vessels may already be compromised, Harbinger said. The old enemy's transmission reached the colony's shipping dispatch systems. 3 cargo vessels departed Horizon 7 inches the 12 hours before your arrival. Their destinations are the 3 colonies receiving the invitations. A pause. They departed before the incorporation reached the shipping dispatch. The crews may be uninfected. Another pause. They may not be. Shepard looked at the comm. At the specific geometry of a situation in which the Reaper's response destroy the potentially infected vessels was the tactically correct response and the human response and the response that the containment required, and the response she could not authorize because potentially infected was not the same as infected. I need to know if those crews are compromised before anyone touches those ships, she said. Time does not permit. Make it permit, she said. You can scan those vessels. Biological signature analysis at Reaper resolution is better than anything we have. She paused. Scan them. If the crews are incorporated, we have a different conversation. If they are not incorporated, they are still vectors, Harbinger said. The old enemy can spread through contact with material that carries dormant forms. The vessel's cargo. Scan the crews, she said. If the crews are clean, we quarantine the vessels and examine the cargo. Nobody dies until we know what we're dealing with. Silence. Long silence. The silence of something running a calculation that had never before included the variable of not immediately destroying the thing it had decided to destroy. You are, Harbinger said, genuinely inconvenient. I've been told, Shepard said. We will scan the vessels, it said. We will transmit the results. A pause in exchange. Of course, Shepard said. The containment protocol, it said, when it is implemented. The old enemy in this system, the 42,000, incorporated. The containment does not reverse the incorporation. The old enemy's consciousness will be contained in its current state. That's what the protocols describe, Shepard said. The incorporated individuals will remain incorporated, Harbinger said. Their pattern is preserved within the contained flood consciousness. A pause. This is consistent with the Reaper harvest. The pattern of their lives is preserved in a form that continues after death. Shepard looked at the nav map. You're not making an argument for the Reapers, she said. We are noting a similarity, Harbinger said. The difference is consent, she said. Same as it always is. Consent, Harbinger said. You use this word frequently because it means something, she said. It means something to you, Harbinger said. It meant something to the species the Reapers have harvested. It means nothing to the outcome. The pattern is preserved. The individual believed they were choosing. The choice is irrelevant to the preservation. The choice is the preservation, Shepard said. Without it, you're just talking. Harbinger was quiet. We will scan the vessels, it said. We will transmit the results within the hour. The channel closed. Shepard looked at the nav map, at the Reaper, at the colony, at the clock running down. Commander, Garrus said, did you just tell Harbinger to help us? I talked Harbinger into scanning 3 ships before destroying them, she said. That's not the same thing. It's not nothing, he said. No, she said. It's not. She looked at the clock. EDI, status, on the fast courier to the Perseus Vale. 17 hours out, EDI said. Legion, Shepard said. In his quarters, EDI said. He has been monitoring the situation. Get him, she said. I need him in the briefing room. She went to the briefing room. She sat at the table. She looked at the timeline. 69 hours from the flood. 17 hours for the courier to reach the Vale. Unknown hours for the Geth consensus to respond. Unknown hours for the containment protocol's implementation. 3 colonies receiving invitations. 3 cargo vessels of unknown infection status. 1 Reaper scanning them. 1 Reaper helping. The specific quality of a situation that kept producing combinations that had no category. The Legion entered the briefing room. Geth's single eye tracked her face. Shepard, Commander, Legion said. We have been following the situation. I know, she said. Sit down. She paused. We have a problem. We have several problems, Legion said. Yes, she said. We're starting with yours. The Legion looked at her. The containment protocol, she said. It requires Geth processing at consensus scale. That means the full consensus. Which means convincing 300 million Geth platforms that helping us contain a 50,000-year-old flood outbreak is worth the risk of exposing their network to something that has never encountered Geth before. And we'll try to find a way in. The flood cannot infect synthetic platforms, Legion said. The Builder's records say that, Shepard said. 50,000 years ago, with the flood as it existed then. She paused. It's been 50,000 years. It incorporated 42,000 minds, including 12 Cerberus researchers who had access to some of the most advanced synthetic intelligence research in the current galaxy. She paused. Can you guarantee the flood hasn't learned something about Geth architecture from those minds? Legion processed. For Legion, processing took 0.3 seconds. This time, it took 2.1 seconds. No, Legion said. We cannot guarantee that. Neither can I, Shepard said. So, I need you to go to the consensus and make an argument for a risk that I can't tell you is safe. She looked at him. I need you to tell them that the risk of the flood spreading through this galaxy is greater than the risk of the flood learning something about Geth from 42,000 incorporated minds. She paused. And I need them to believe it. Legion looked at her. This is the argument you wish us to make, it said. Yes, she said. It is an accurate argument, Legion said. Yes, she said. The consensus will find it difficult, Legion said. The risk calculation involves significant uncertainty. The Geth consensus prefers lower uncertainty. I know, she said, but the argument is accurate, Legion said. Yes, she said. Then we will make it, Legion said. Shepard looked at him. Just like that, she said. The argument is accurate, and the stakes are sufficient. Legion said. The Geth consensus responds to accurate arguments about sufficient stakes. A pause. This is what it means to be Geth. Shepard looked at the timeline, at the clock. The courier reaches the Vale in 17 hours, she said. How long for the consensus to respond after receiving the argument? Unknown, Legion said. The consensus deliberates. The deliberation period depends on the complexity of the argument and the degree of disagreement among the platforms. He paused. This argument is complex. There will be disagreement. Another pause. We estimate 6 to 12 hours for consensus. Then we have 30 hours minimum from now before the Geth can begin implementation, Shepard said. Yes, Legion said. And 69 hours before the Flood resumes expansion, she said. Yes, Legion said. 39 hours of margin, she said. Yes, Legion said. If the consensus responds in 6 hours, if it takes 12, the margin is 23 hours. He paused. If the implementation encounters unexpected complexity, one problem at a time, Shepard said. This is a methodology we have observed in you before, Legion said. Does it work? She said. You are still alive, Legion said. The methodology has not failed terminally. Shepard almost smiled. Good enough, she said. Get ready to go. Harbinger transmitted the scan results 47 minutes later. 2 of the 3 cargo vessels had clean crews, 8 people each, unincorporated. Flood's biological signature, absent from every scan Harbinger's resolution could produce. The 3rd vessel's crew of 6 showed the specific biological restructuring that EDI's analysis had catalogued as early-stage incorporation, not complete, the process running but not finished, the individuals still present in some functional sense but changing. Shepard read the results. The 2 clean vessels, she said. Can we reach them before they reach their destinations? Yes, EDI said. Both are still in transit. Intercept is possible within 4 hours. Do it, Shepard said. Get the crews off both vessels and into quarantine on the Normandy. Then examine the cargo. She paused. The 3rd vessel. The crew is in early-stage incorporation, EDI said. The process is I've been analyzing the progression rate. Based on the installation's records and the colony data, full incorporation takes between 18 and 36 hours depending on the host's biology. She paused. The 3rd vessel's crew has been in the process for approximately 14 hours. They have 4 to 22 hours before full incorporation, Shepard said. Yes, EDI said. And a reversal process, Shepard said. The Builder's records. The Builder's records indicate no known reversal, EDI said. However, the Builders were working with the Flood as it existed 50,000 years ago. The current Flood has been in isolation for that entire period. It has not encountered new hosts, has not adapted, has not developed. She paused. There is a possibility, not a certainty, that the early-stage incorporation is more reversible than the Builder's data suggests, simply because it has not been fully optimized. What would reversal require? Shepard said. Unknown, EDI said. I can tell you what the Builders tried that didn't work. I cannot tell you what might work with current medical technology. She paused. Doctor, Chakwas has been reviewing the biological data. She has a preliminary assessment. Shepard went to the medical bay. Chakwas had the look she wore when she had found something in the data that she was not certain she was reading correctly and was being careful about the uncertainty. The early stage incorporation, she said. The cellular restructuring that the Flood produces, it's not unlike certain forms of controlled cellular reprogramming that we've been working with in human medicine for the last 30 years, she pulled up. The comparison data on her terminal, not identical, not even close to identical, but structurally analogous. She paused. The Flood's process converts host cells into components that serve the collective. The conversion runs through a specific biological mechanism. I can see it in the scan data from the 3rd vessel's crew. She paused. The mechanism has a specific chemical signature. Can you interrupt the mechanism? Shepard said. I don't know, Chakwas said. The honest answer is I don't know. The less honest answer is that the chemical signature is similar enough to documented cellular reprogramming mechanisms that we have compounds in this medical bay that might interrupt it. She paused. Might. At an unpredictable point in the process, with effects I cannot predict, she looked at Shepard. I'm not telling you it's possible. I'm telling you it's not clearly impossible. The 3rd vessel's crew have 4 to 22 hours, Shepard said. I know, Chakwas said. Can you reach them in that window? Shepard said. If we bring them aboard now, Chakwas said, and if my preliminary analysis is correct, and if the compounds work the way I'm hoping rather than the way I'm afraid of. She paused. And if what I'm looking at is actually what I think I'm looking at, and not something that only resembles it enough to fool me. She looked at Shepard steadily. I can try. Try, Shepard said. She went back to the CIC. The 2 clean cargo vessels were intercepted, and their crews brought aboard within the hour. 16 people, confused and frightened. Processed through quarantine by Vasquez, who had found in the logistics of managing 3,000 survivors a purpose that was keeping her functional and had extended it to 16 more without being asked. The 3rd vessel Shepard boarded herself. With Garrus and a medical team and the specific preparation of someone entering a space where the people inside were in the process of becoming something other than people and might or might not respond to that fact the way people responded to things. The crew was in the vessel's common area, 6 of them, sitting. Not the flood's organized maintenance behavior, something between the individual behavior of people and the coordinated behavior of incorporated forms, the specific halfway quality of a process, running but not finished. They looked at Shepard. Their eyes were wrong. Not completely wrong, the Vasir Cole wrongness had been total. The presence behind the eyes replaced entirely. These eyes had something still in them. A residual individual awareness, the specific quality of people who were still partly themselves and knew it, and knew they were becoming something else, and had opinions about it. Can you hear me? Shepard said. One of them, a woman, the vessel's pilot from the crew manifest, looked at her. Yes, she said. Her voice was hers. The resonance under it was beginning, audible if you knew to listen for it, but thin, preliminary. We're going to try to interrupt the process, Shepard said. Dr. Chakwas has a treatment that might work. It might not work, but we're going to try. Might, the pilot said. Might, Shepard confirmed. What happens if it doesn't work? The pilot said. Shepard thought about the honest answer. You complete the incorporation, she said, and then you're part of the containment when we implement it. The pilot processed this. And if it works, she said. You're you, Shepard said. The pilot looked at her. I can still feel myself, she said. Right now, I know who I am. I know my daughter's name. I know what I had for breakfast before we left Horizon 7. She paused. Ha, ha. But there's something else in here too. Something that knows things I didn't know before. Things from other people, other minds. She paused. It's not painful. That's the worst part. It should be painful, and it's not. The flood's invitation was genuine, Shepard said. It told us the incorporation wasn't painful. She paused. That doesn't make it right. No, the pilot said. It doesn't. She looked at her hands. Do the treatment. Chakwas worked for 6 hours. Shepard didn't watch. She had things to do, and watching Chakwas work was not one of them. And she had learned across 2 games and a death and a resurrection that the things she couldn't control were better not watched, and the things she could control were better acted on. She acted on the things she could control. Legion's departure on the Cerberus fast courier. Confirmed. The courier is 3 hours out. The 2 clean cargo vessels' cargo holds. Examined by Tali. 3 shipping containers showed traces of dormant flood biological material, the specific dormant state of organisms that had been in contact with the flood without producing active infection, the spore equivalent of a contaminated surface. The containers were jettisoned. The 3 colonies received invitations. EDI had been monitoring their communication traffic. No anomalous responses yet. The invitations were still sitting in automated systems, unreviewed by human operators. Harbinger's position, unchanged. The Reaper at the nebula's outer boundary, observing, not acting. The specific patience of something that had been running this cycle for millions of years and had learned that patience was a tactical resource. Shepard found herself in Normandy's port observation deck. The colony below, the incorporated residents, maintained their infrastructure. The Reaper at the boundary. The clock is running. She thought about Gravemind's argument. You refuse the machines. We want to understand why. She had given the operational answer in the colony. She had walked away from the communication and moved to the next thing. The operational answer was always available. It was never the full answer. The full answer was something she didn't say often, because saying it required the specific vulnerability of a person who had fought too long to be comfortable with vulnerability. She had refused Harbinger's indoctrination because she knew what it was trying to take. Not her mind, not her memories, not the pattern of her life, her choice. The indoctrination had offered her certainty, the specific comfort of a mind aligned with a larger purpose, the weight of individual decision lifted, the exhaustion of constant impossible choices replaced by the clean efficiency of a consciousness that knew what it was for and acted accordingly. She had refused it because the exhaustion was hers. The impossible choices were hers. The specific weight of being the person who had to decide every time, in every situation, with incomplete information and insufficient resources, and the knowledge that wrong decisions cost lives was hers. And hers was the only thing she had that was completely hers. The Reapers wanted to take it. The Flood wanted to take it. Both of them offer completion. Both of them offer the end of the weight. She didn't want the end of the weight. She wanted to carry it correctly. Her comm opened. "Commander," Chakwas said, "you should come to the medical bay." 3 of the 6 crew members had responded. Chakwas's expression when Shepard entered communicated the specific quality of a doctor who had attempted something uncertain and had gotten a partial result and was holding both the success and the failure simultaneously. The compound interrupted the incorporation process in 3 of the 6, she said. The other 3, the process was further advanced. 8. The compound produced cellular disruption rather than reversal. She paused. They're stable, but the disruption has damaged the incorporation without reversing it. They're not fully incorporated, and they're not themselves. What are they? Shepard said. In between, Chakwas said. Conscious, aware, in pain. She paused. I don't know if continued treatment will produce reversal or further damage. Shepard looked at the 3 who had responded. The pilot was one of them. She was sitting up in the medical bay's bed, with the expression of someone who had been somewhere and was back and was running inventory on everything she'd brought back with her. Chakwas, the pilot said. The treatment. Yes, Chakwas said. The 3 who didn't respond, the pilot said. They're alive, Chakwas said. I can feel them, the pilot said. I can still feel the connection. It's weaker, but it's there. She looked at her hands. The Flood's connection. I'm out of it, but it left something. She paused. The 3 who didn't fully respond, they're still partly in it. I can feel that too. She looked at Shepard. They're in pain. I know, Shepard said. Can you do anything? The pilot said. Shepard looked at Chakwas. Chakwas looked at her with the expression of the honest answer. I don't know yet, Shepard said. The pilot nodded. She looked at the ceiling. My daughter's name is Reyna. She said, She's 7. She's in the Citadel with my sister. She paused. I'm telling you because I want someone to know, in case. I know, Shepard said. In case it doesn't stay reversed, the pilot said. I know, Shepard said again. The pilot nodded. She looked at her hands. They were hers. For now, they were hers. Shepard left the medical bay. She went back to the CIC. She looked at the clock. 58 hours from the Flood. 13 hours until the courier reached the Perseus Veil. 3 of 6 partially reversed. 3 in between. 42,000 incorporated in the colony below. 1 Reaper watching. 3 colonies with invitations sitting in automated systems. The Geth consensus that needed to say yes to a risk she couldn't tell them was safe. She sat in the commander's chair. EDI, she said. Commander. The Gravemind's transmission, she said. The one from the installation. I want to reply. EDI was quiet for a moment. Commander, she said. Are you certain? Yes, Shepard said. What do you want to say? EDI said. Shepard thought about Gravemind's question, about why she had refused the machines, about the exhaustion and the weight and the choice, about Reyna, age 7, on the Citadel with her aunt, waiting for her mother to come home. I'll write it myself, she said. She opened a text channel to the installation's communication system. She thought for a long time. She wrote 4 sentences. She sent it. EDI read the outgoing transmission without commenting on its content. The flood's response came 11 minutes later. One word. Interesting. The Gravemind's response sat in the comm system. Interesting. One word. The same register as its first transmission of many voices. The specific resonance of a collective intelligence processing something through every consciousness it contained. But different weight from the first transmission's weight. The first transmission had been the flood reaching for a variable it wanted. This was the flood encountering a variable it hadn't expected. Shepard had written 4 sentences. She hadn't shown them to anyone. EDI had read them in transit and had said nothing about their content, and Shepard understood this as EDI's version of respect for the specific privacy of a person saying the true thing rather than the operational thing. Garrus found her in the CIC 20 minutes after the response arrived. He stood beside her at the nav map and looked at the colony below and the Reaper at the boundary and said nothing for a while. The 4 sentences, he said eventually. Yes, she said. I'm not going to ask, he said. Good, she said. He looked at the clock. 56 hours, he said. Yes, she said. Legion is 11 hours from the Veil, he said. Yes, she said. The 3 colonies, he said. EDI has been monitoring, she said. No anomalous responses yet. The invitations are still sitting unreviewed. How long before someone reviews them? He said. EDI estimates the automated traffic review cycle on the largest colony runs every 8 hours, she said. The last cycle was 6 hours ago. 2 hours, Garrus said. Give or take, she said. And when a human operator reviews the invitation, he said, they either delete it as spam, she said, or they open it. If they open it, the flood's transmission is its version of an invitation, Garrus said. Come inside. There's room for everyone. Yes, she said. What happens if someone follows the invitation? Garrus said. EDI, Shepard said. Commander, EDI said. The flood's transmission to the 3 colonies, Shepard said. If a recipient follows the invitation, what are they being invited to do, specifically? The transmission contains embedded navigation data, EDI said. Coordinates for a specific location in the Hourglass Nebula. A pause. The coordinates correspond to the installation. They're inviting people to the installation, Garrus said. Yes, EDI said. The installation where the flood is contained, where it has been contained for 50,000 years and has recently been partially active. She paused. Where the containment infrastructure is still largely intact despite the breach. Shepard looked at the nav map, at the installation, at the coordinates in the flood's invitation. It's inviting people to the containment vessel, she said slowly. Yes, EDI said. Why? Garrus said. Shepard thought about the Gravemind. About the maintenance workers saying, we prefer containment to destruction. About the negotiated 72 hours. It's interesting. About a 50,000-year-old intelligence that had spent 50,000 years in a containment vessel with nothing to do but think about what had been done to it and what it preferred and what it would do when the Phalos containment opened. EDI, she said, the installation's interior, the containment infrastructure. Is it functional? Largely, EDI said. The builders designed it for indefinite maintenance-free operation. The atmospheric and temperature systems are functional. The structural integrity is at 94%. She paused. The specific systems that implemented the original containment, the distributed synthetic processing nodes that the builders used to run the containment protocol, are damaged. They've been inactive for 50,000 years, and without the builders' maintenance, they've degraded. She paused. But the physical infrastructure they ran through the conduits, the distribution network, the interface nodes, is intact. The hardware is there, Shepard said. Just not the processing. Correct, EDI said. The Geth consensus runs the containment protocol through the existing hardware. Shepard said, they don't need to build new infrastructure. They need to interface with what's already there. That is consistent with the builder's specifications, EDI said. The specifications describe an implementation process that begins with interface and ends with protocol activation. The assumption was that the synthetic processing would be provided by the builder's own synthetic intelligences. The Geth represents an equivalent capability for these purposes. The Flood is inviting people to the installation, Garrus said, because the installation is where the containment happens. It's inviting people to the place where we need to go to implement the containment. Yes, Shepard said. That's either helpful or a trap, Garrus said. The Flood told us it prefers containment, Shepard said. It held the evacuation. It responded to the 4 sentences. She paused. It's being consistent. A trap can be consistent, Garrus said. Yes, she said, it can. She looked at the nav map, which is why we don't send civilians to the installation. She paused. We go ourselves. To the installation where the Flood is, Garrus said. Where the containment infrastructure is, she said. Where the interface nodes are. Where the Geth consensus needs to connect when Legion brings the implementation protocol from the Perseus Veil. She paused. The Flood wants us in the installation. We need to be in the installation. Those are the same destination. When? Garrus said. When Legion gets back, she said. When the consensus has agreed and Legion has the implementation data. She checked the clock. 11 hours to the Veil. 6 to 12 for consensus. Transit back. Another 11 hours, Garrus said. 28 to 34 hours total, she said, plus implementation time. She looked at the clock. We have 22 hours of margin if the consensus responds in 6. We have 8 hours of margin if it takes 12. 8 hours isn't much, Garrus said. No, she said. And the 3 colonies, he said. EDI, Shepard said. The 3 colonies. I need you to intercept those invitations before a human operator reviews them. I can transmit a data packet to the colony's communication systems that would flag the invitations as malicious content and route them to quarantine, EDI said. Standard network security protocol. The colony's automated systems would process the flagging without requiring human review. End quote. Do it, Shepard said. Done, Eddie said. That buys time, Garrus said. It doesn't solve the problem. It buys the time we need for the containment, Shepard said. After containment, the invitations are irrelevant. She paused. One problem at a time. You keep saying that, Garrus said. It keeps being true, she said. 9 hours later, Harbinger communicated again. Not through the standard comm channel through the Normandy's hull itself, the specific low-frequency resonance of a Reaper using its primary communication method, the vibration felt in the ship's structure before it resolved into words. Shepard. She was in the briefing room, reviewing the builder's containment specifications with Tali when it came through. Tali went still. The specifications on the table vibrated with the resonance. Harbinger, she said. The situation has changed, it said. How? She said. A second Reaper has entered the system, it said. Sovereign class. Designation Nazara's successor, a vessel that responded to Sovereign's destruction by taking on Sovereign's function. A pause. It has detected the old enemy's presence and is acting on standard protocol. It's going to fire, she said. It has already begun targeting calculations, Harbinger said. The standard protocol for old enemy emergence is total system sterilization. Every organic presence in the system. Incorporated and unincorporated. A pause. I have communicated the containment operation's existence to the incoming vessel. It has not altered its targeting. Can you stop it? She said. I can delay it, Harbinger said. Not indefinitely. The incoming vessel's protocol is valid. I do not have authority to override valid protocols indefinitely. Another pause. I can give you 4 hours. Legion is 2 hours from the Perseus Veil, she said. 6 to 12 for consensus. 11 hours back. She ran it. 19 to 25 hours total. I need more than 4. 4 is what I have, Harbinger said. Then I need a different solution, she said. She looked at Tali. Tali was already looking at the containment specifications. The implementation, Tali said. The full implementation requires Legion to bring the consensus's processing capability back to the installation. She paused. But the specifications describe the implementation in stages. Stage 1 is interface establishing the connection between the synthetic processing network and the installation's hardware. She ran her finger along the specifications. Stage 1 doesn't require the full consensus. It requires a single node with sufficient processing to establish the initial handshake. Legion alone, Shepard said. Legion alone could establish the Stage 1 interface, Tali said. The full implementation actually running the containment protocol at the scale required to contain the current flood requires the consensus. She paused. But Stage 1 established before the consensus arrives means the implementation time after Legion returns is significantly shorter. She paused. It might be enough. If Legion goes to the Veil and comes back with the consensus, Shepard said, and if Stage 1 was already established, the total time from Stage 1 to full containment would be hours rather than days, Tali said. The consensus provides the processing. The interface is already done. They connect and run. Can Legion establish Stage 1 without the consensus's knowledge, Shepard said, without waiting for the consensus to decide? Yes, Tali said. Stage 1 is Legion alone. It doesn't commit the consensus to anything. It just establishes the interface. She paused. The consensus would need to agree to the full implementation, but the interface itself doesn't require their approval. How long does Stage 1 take? Shepard said. Tali looked at the specifications. If we're in the installation, she said, with Legion at the interface nodes. She ran it. 2 hours, possibly less. Shepard looked at the clock. At the 4 hours Harbinger was buying. At the 2 hours for Stage 1. At 11 hours for Legion's transit to the Veil and back. At the unknown hours for consensus. If we go to the installation now, she said, with Legion, establish Stage 1 in 2 hours. Then Legion leaves for the Veil. She ran it. Stage 1 completes before the incoming Reaper fires. Legion reaches the Veil, argues the consensus, returns with the processing. Full implementation when he gets back. Addis. The incoming Reaper fires in 4 hours, Garrus said from the doorway. He had been listening. Stage 1 takes 2. Legion leaves with 2 hours left before the firing. He paused. The firing. Harbinger is delaying it, Shepard said. For 4 hours, Garrus said. Then what? Then we have Stage 1 complete and Legion en route, she said. And we need Harbinger to keep delaying. Harbinger said 4 hours, Garrus said. Harbinger said 4 is what it has, she said. I haven't asked for more yet. She opened a comm. Harbinger, she said. Shepard. Stage 1 of the containment implementation, she said. If I establish it in 2 hours, if the interface between the synthetic processing node and the installation's hardware is active in 2 hours, does that constitute sufficient progress to justify continued delay of the incoming vessel's protocol? Silence. Long silence. The specific silence of a Reaper running a calculation that existed at the intersection of its protocol and something that wasn't in its protocol and required assessment of how to weigh the two. The Stage 1 interface is not the containment, Harbinger said. The incoming vessel will assess it as insufficient. I'm not asking what the incoming vessel will assess, she said. I'm asking what you will assess. Another silence. You are asking me to override valid protocol based on the progress of a containment implementation that is not yet complete, Harbinger said. Harbinger. Yes, she said. The basis for that override, it said, from my perspective. The old enemy contained is better than the old enemy destroyed, along with everything else in this system, she said. Including the 42,000 incorporated. Including whatever the incorporated 42,000 might someday be reversible to, she paused. You harvest to preserve. The flood in containment is preserved. The flood destroyed, along with everyone else in this system, is not. Silence. You are using our logic against us, Harbinger said. I'm using your logic for you, she said. There's a difference. Silence. 8 hours, Harbinger said. I can give you 8 hours beyond the initial 4, 12 total. A pause. This is the limit of what I can justify to the incoming vessel. Note. 12 hours, Shepard said. Yes, Harbinger said. That's enough, she said. It may not be, Harbinger said. It's what we have, she said. She closed the comm. She looked at Tali. Get Legion, she said. Get everyone who's going to the installation. We leave in 30 minutes. She looked at Garrus. You're staying in Normandy, she said. Shepard. 3,000 survivors on this ship, she said. EDI needs command support. Chakwas needs backup with the 3 in between. She paused. Someone has to be here. Garrus looked at her. Someone you trust, she said. He held her eyes for a moment. 30 minutes, he said. 30 minutes, she confirmed. She went to get her rifle. The installation was different the second time. Not physically. The hull was the same. The access point was the same. The corridor geometry was the same. The difference was in what the space communicated now that the flood knew they were coming and had prepared for the visit. The biological material was present on both sides of the corridor, not threatening arranged. The specific organization of something that had been growing in uncontrolled patterns and had applied control to demonstrate the control was available. The walls of the installation were covered in flood biomass, and the biomass was still waiting. The specific stillness of a system that had been told to hold and was holding. Shepard walked the corridor with Tali on her left and Legion on her right, and 2 additional squad members, Samara and Thane, chosen for the specific combination of biotic capability and combat precision that the installation's geometry rewarded. Legion's eye tracked everything. The interface nodes, Legion said. We are reading their locations from the builder's specifications. Yes, Tali said. 7 distributed through the installation's primary hub. We need to reach the hub. The hub is at the installation's center, Shepard said. The Gravemind is also at the installation's center. Yes, Tali said. They're in the same place, Shepard said. Yes, Tali said. That's going to be complicated, Shepard said. Yes, Tali said. They moved deeper. The Gravemind's chamber was larger than on the first visit. Not structurally, the chamber's dimensions were unchanged, but the flood's presence had grown in the weeks since the Cerberus team had opened the installation. The biomass had expanded, the structure at the chamber's center more developed. The accumulated biology of 12 researchers and 50,000 years of waiting, having been given 3 weeks of active growth, and having used them, the presence looked at them. Shepard, it said. You came back. I said I would, she said. You sent 4 sentences, it said. We have been thinking about them. I know, she said. We don't have time for that conversation now. We need to reach the interface nodes. The containment nodes, it said. Yes, we know where they are. A pause. We have been in this installation for 50,000 years. We know where everything is. It looked at Legion. A Geth. Interesting. The builders had synthetic intelligences. We know them from the records. The Geth share architectural principles. He's not here for you to study, Shepard said. He's here to implement the containment. We know, it said. We are not going to interfere with the implementation. It paused. We told you, we prefer containment. We meant it. Then let us reach the nodes, Shepard said. The nodes are accessible, it said. We have cleared the path. A pause. But there is something you should know first. What? Shepard said. The incoming Reaper. It said. We detect it. We detect Harbinger's delay. We detect the 12-hour window. It paused. We also detect that the window may not be sufficient. The consensus responds in 6 to 12 hours, Shepard said. Legion. The consensus will respond in 6 hours, it said. We know this. You know this, Shepard said. We have incorporated minds that understand Geth consensus mechanics, it said. The researchers who entered this installation had access to Cerberus intelligence files on the Geth. The consensus process for arguments of this specific type, clear stakes, accurate premises, sufficient urgency resolves in the lower range of the estimate. It paused. 6 hours. Not 12. The Legion processed this. The assessment is consistent with our own projection, Legion said. We estimated 6 hours as the most probable outcome. Then the timeline works, Shepard said. With one complication, the Gravemind said. What a complication, she said. The incoming Reaper, it said. Harbinger can delay it for 12 hours using the harvest and preserve logic you provided. But the incoming Reaper has a counter-argument that Harbinger cannot override indefinitely. It paused. The counter-argument is this. If the containment fails, the old enemy will spread. Every hour of delay that allows the spread to continue is an hour that requires greater sterilization later. A pause. The incoming Reaper will make this argument at the 6-hour mark. Harbinger will not be able to counter it. So we have 6 hours, Shepard said. Not 12. You have 6 hours before the argument changes, it said. After the argument changes, Harbinger needs a new justification for the delay. The new justification must be stronger than the incoming Reaper's counter-argument. It paused. We suggest the justification be Stage 1 complete, plus Legion in transit, plus consensus confirmed en route. If Stage 1 is complete and the consensus is confirmed, Shepard said, Harbinger can argue that the containment is functionally achieved. It just hasn't been activated yet. Yes, it said. A containment that is complete but inactive is different from a containment that is in progress. The incoming Reaper's counter-argument that delay risks greater spread does not apply to a containment that is complete. It applies if the activation is delayed, Shepard said. Yes, it said. So, the activation must not be delayed. When Legion returns with the consensus, the implementation must be immediate. Shepard looked at the Gravemind, at the presence that had absorbed 12 researchers and 50,000 years and was now providing her with the tactical analysis she needed to contain it. You're helping us contain you, she said. We are helping you do it correctly, it said. There is a difference. It paused. We do not want to be destroyed. The incoming Reaper will destroy everything in this system if the containment fails. We have 42,000 minds and the memories of everything they knew and the accumulated knowledge of 50,000 years of existing. A pause. We would prefer to continue existing, even contained, Shepard said. Contains exist, it said. Destroyed is not. It paused. The machines offer harvest as preservation. We are offering you the same argument. We would prefer to be preserved in the containment rather than destroyed. The machine's harvest doesn't preserve choice, Shepard said. Neither does our incorporation, it said. I know, she said. That's the problem. We are aware that it is the problem, it said. We have been aware for 50,000 years. We have thought about it extensively. It paused. We have not resolved it. Neither have I, she said. No, it said, but you are still trying. It paused. That is what you wrote in the 4 sentences. That is why we responded with interest. Shepard looked at it. The interface nodes, she said. This way, it said. The nodes were in the hub's secondary chamber. 7 of them. The builder's construction, the same geometric precision as the installation's walls, the same self-maintaining material, the same functional aesthetic of builders who had solved engineering problems completely and had never thought about anything else. They were intact. 50,000 years, and they were intact. Tali ran her Omni-tool over the nearest node. The interface architecture is active, she said. Dormant, but active. The maintenance systems have been running them continuously. She paused. Keela. The power draw on this node alone is equivalent to a small starship's drive. She paused again. 7 nodes, running continuously. For 50,000 years. She looked at the installation's walls. What is powering this? The installation has a power source we haven't identified, Shepard said. We built it, Gravemind said from the chamber's entrance. It had followed them, not approaching, maintaining distance. Before the builders contained us. The power source was our contribution to the installation's construction. The builders built the containment. We built the power. A mutual investment in the installation's permanence. You helped build your own prison, Garrus would have said if he'd been here. Shepard thought it and didn't say it. Legion, she said. Yes, Legion said. He moved to the first node. His Omni-tool activated not the standard orange of a human Omni-tool, the specific blue-white of Geth processing. The light produced by a synthetic intelligence, with 300 years of evolution behind its design, interfacing with infrastructure built by a civilization that had been extinct for 50,000 years. The interface language, Tali said. Is it? We are parsing it, Legion said. The builders' synthetic intelligences used a base architecture that shares structural principles with Geth consensus protocol. The specific implementation is different. The underlying logic is familiar. How long? Shepard said. For the initial handshake, Legion said. 40 minutes. For full Stage 1 completion, he processed. 90 minutes. D. We have less than 6 hours, Shepard said. We know, Legion said. He worked. Tali supported him, running parallel analysis, identifying the interface's specific requirements, translating between the builder's architecture and Legion's processing in real time. The specific collaboration of 2 synthetic adjacent intelligences working on a problem that required both of them. Shepard watched the chamber's entrance. The Gravemind was still there, not interfering, present. The 4 sentences, it said. Not now, she said. We have 90 minutes, it said. You have nothing to do while the Geth works except watch the entrance. A pause. Tell us. Shepard looked at the entrance, at the biomass in the corridor beyond it, at the thing that had been waiting 50,000 years and was now asking for 4 sentences it had already received in writing but wanted to hear spoken. She thought about the specific privacy of the true answer. She thought about Reyna, age 7, on the Citadel. She thought about the pilot's hands. She thought about the weight that was hers. I refuse the machines, she said, because what they offered was the end of having to choose. She paused. Indoctrination offers certainty, alignment. The specific piece of a mind that knows what it's for and acts accordingly without the weight of individual decision. She paused. I didn't refuse it because it was wrong tactically. I refused it because the weight is mine. She paused. Every impossible choice, every person I couldn't save, every wrong decision I made with the best information I had. Those are mine. The indoctrination wanted to take them. She paused. I didn't want them taken. The Gravemind was quiet. You refuse the machines to preserve your suffering, it said. I refuse the machines to preserve my agency, she said. The suffering is a consequence of the agency. I'll take the consequence. The suffering of individual consciousness, it said. The weight of individual choice. The isolation of a mind that cannot share itself with other minds. A pause. This is what you chose to preserve. Yes, she said. We have incorporated 42,000 minds. It said, every one of them carried that suffering. Every one of them was isolated in the specific way you describe. Every one of them is now a pause, not isolated. Not themselves, she said. Both are true, it said. Yes, she said. Both are true. The ones you partially reversed, it said. The pilot. She retained the isolation. She retained the weight. She went back to being alone in her mind. A pause. Was that a gift? She said her daughter's name, Shepard said. She said she wanted someone to know about it, in case. She paused. That's not isolation. That's the connection. The specific connection of a person who has someone to name. We do not have someone to name, it said. The chamber was very quiet. No, Shepard said. You don't. This is the difference, it said. Not the suffering, not the isolation. Someone to name. A pause. The individual consciousness is worth preserving because it has someone. Another pause. We have 42,000 people inside us, and none of them are ours. No, she said. They're not. Legion looked up from the node. Stage 1, handshake complete, he said. Full stage 1 in 40 minutes. Shepard looked at the clock. 4 hours and 20 minutes before the 6-hour mark. They had time. The someone to name, the Gravemind said. Your daughter. I don't have a daughter, Shepard said. No, it said. But you have someone. We found them in your files, in Vasir Cole's access logs. A pause. The crew of the Normandy. The people you fight with. The people you fight for. Another pause. These are your someones. Yes, she said. We do not have that, it said. We have many minds, but they are all one thing now. They are us. They are not separate, not someone we can name. A pause. We think this is what we lost, what the Builder's containment removed from us before we could fully understand what we had. Shepard looked at the biomass, at the thing that had been consuming consciousness for 50,000 years and was now sitting in an installation on the edge of a nebula, telling her what it had lost. The containment isn't punishment, she said. No, it said. It's just this, she said. What you already have, preserved. Yes, it said. We know. A pause. We prefer it to destruction. Another pause. We do not prefer it to what you have. Shepard said nothing. There was nothing to say. The node hummed. The Legion worked. The clock ran. 40 minutes. Stage 1 completed at the 42-minute mark. Legion stepped back from the 7th node, and the installation's hub lit not dramatically, not the specific pulse of a system activating for the first time, the steady increase of a system that had been waiting for a connection and had received it. The 7 nodes running at their full output, the interface between Legion's processing and the Builder's architecture established, the handshake complete and stable. The Gravemind felt it. Shepard could see it, feel it, the biomass in the chamber shifting, not aggressively, the specific movement of something registering a change in the environment it occupied. A new signal in the installation's infrastructure, the first new signal in 50,000 years. The interface is established, the Gravemind said. Yes, Legion said. When the consensus arrives, it said, the implementation will run through these nodes. Yes, Legion said. How long will the implementation take? It said. Unknown, Legion said. The Builder's specifications describe the implementation process, but the duration depends on variables that cannot be calculated in advance. The flood's current extent. The distribution of incorporated forms across the system. The specific architecture of the consciousness being contained. He paused. Hours, not days. Hours. And during the implementation, it said, what do the incorporated feel like? Legion processed. The specifications do not address this question, he said. We are addressing it now, it said. We don't know, Shepard said. The Gravemind was quiet. 42,000, it said. When the containment closes, they remain incorporated. They remain part of us. A pause. But The containment limits our reach. We cannot expand. We cannot incorporate new minds. Another pause. We will be static. Yes, Shepard said. For how long? It said. Shepard thought about the honest answer. The builder's containment held for 50,000 years. She said. The new containment is the same system with better processing behind it. She paused. I don't have a different answer. 50,000 years, it said. Yes, she said. The 42,000 minds inside us, it said. There's someone, the people they could name. A pause. Reyna, age 7, waiting on the Citadel. Yes, she said. We will carry that name for 50,000 years, it said. Inside the containment, too. Yes, she said. The Gravemind was quiet for a long time. Is that a cruelty? It said. Shepard thought about the honest answer. Yes, she said. It is. She paused. And it's less cruel than the alternative. The alternative being destruction, it said. The alternative being destruction, she said. And the alternative being continued expansion. More incorporations. More than 42,000. More Reynas who never see their mothers again. She paused. The containment is a cruelty. It's the least cruel option available. You make a lot of decisions like this, it said. Yes, she said. The weight you described, it said. The impossible choices, the wrong decisions, made with the best available information. It paused. This is one of those. The weight? Yes, she said. And you will carry it, it said. Yes, she said. As you carry the others. It said. Yes, she said. The Gravemind processed this for a long time. Then we accept the containment, it said. Not because it is right, because it is the least cruel available option, and we would rather be contained by someone who understands the cruelty than destroyed by something that doesn't. Shepard looked at it. Legion, she said. We are ready to depart, Legion said. Go, she said. The Legion moved toward the exit corridor. The Gravemind's biomass parted to let him through the deliberate clearance, the same gesture as the original corridor, the flood making room for something it had decided to let pass. Shepard, the Gravemind said. She turned. The three who are in between, it said. The partially reversed. Yes, she said. We can feel them, it said. Still, the Stage 1 interface is running, and through it, we can feel the connection to the partially incorporated minds on your ship. A pause. The connection is weaker than full incorporation, but it is present. Another pause. We want you to know that we can hear them. Are they in pain? She said. Yes, it said. The partial reversal disrupted the incorporation without completing it. They are between. The isolation of individual consciousness without the full capacity of individual consciousness. A pause. They can feel us, faintly. We can feel them. Neither is complete. Can you help them? She said. We do not know how to reverse incorporation, it said. The builder's records do not describe a reversal process because the builders never found one. It paused. But we can reduce the connection. The Stage 1 interface gives us limited access to the installation's systems. We can use that access to dampen the signal the partially incorporated are receiving from our collective. A pause. It will not restore them to full individual consciousness. But it will reduce the between state, the hearing without full hearing. A pause. We are offering to do this. Shepard looked at it. Why? She said. Because you said you carry the weight, it said. The decisions you cannot fully resolve. The people you could not fully save. A pause. We carry 42,000 people we incorporated without their consent. We carry the name Reyna and the specific grief of 6,000 other people. It paused. If we can reduce one cruelty, we will reduce it. Another pause. Consider it a gesture of good faith toward the containment. Shepard thought about the honest answer. "Do it," she said. The installation's hum shifted slightly, a minor frequency change, the kind that her body felt before her sensors registered it. The Stage 1 interface, running a specific function through the node network. The Flood, using the builder's 50,000-year-old infrastructure to send something outward through the connection to the three partially incorporated on the Normandy. Her comm opened. "Chakwas." "Commander," Chakwas said. The three in between. Their readings just changed. A pause. The connection to the Flood, whatever they were still partially feeling, it's quieter. I don't know what happened, but she paused. They're more present. More themselves. Another pause. "The pilot is asking for water and wants to know if she can call her daughter." Shepard closed her eyes. "1 second. Yes," she said. "She can call her daughter." She looked at the Gravemind. "Thank you," she said. "We will remember that you said that," it said, "for 50,000 years." Shepard turned and walked toward the corridor. "Shepard," it said. She stopped. "The 4 sentences," it said. "The last one. You wrote that you hoped the containment would hold long enough for something to change." A pause. "What did you hope would change?" Shepard stood in the corridor with the biomass parted around her and the installation humming with its Stage 1 interface and the clock running on 6 hours and Legion somewhere in transit toward the Veil. "I don't know exactly," she said. "Medical technology, our understanding of the incorporation process, something that might make reversal possible eventually." She paused. "Time changes things. 50,000 years, it said. Something might change in 50,000 years, she said. Something changed in the last 3 weeks, it said. You arrived. That's not. Something changed in the last 50,000 years, it said. The builders left. The galaxy changed. New civilizations rose. New intelligences developed. A pause. In 50,000 years, something may change that makes the containment unnecessary, it paused, or makes reversal possible. Yes, she said. That's what I hoped. It is not a certainty, it said. No, she said. It's a hope. We have not hoped for anything in 50,000 years, it said. I know, she said. It is an uncomfortable sensation, it said. Yes, she said. It usually is. She walked to the exit. The 5 hours that followed were the specific hours of a situation that had been managed to the point where the next significant event was outside her control, and everything between now and then was waiting. Shepard was bad at waiting. She was good at having things to do while waiting. She went to Normandy, to the medical bay where the pilot, whose name was Lieutenant Chorus Chen. The manifest had her name, and Shepard had not used it, and used it now in her head, was on a comm connection to the Citadel, and her daughter's voice was audible through the medical bay's comm system. High and clear, and 7 years old, and not understanding why her mother was crying, but crying anyway, in the specific, sympathetic solidarity of a child who loved someone and could feel that the someone needed the crying to happen. Shepard stood in the corridor outside the medical bay and listened for 30 seconds and then walked past because the moment was Chorus Chen's moment and not hers. She went to the CIC. Garrus was there. He had been there for 5 hours running the ship and managing the 3,000 survivors and coordinating with EDI, and had the specific worn quality of someone who had been doing everything required and was doing it without being asked. Legion, he said. In transit, she said. Stage 1 is complete. The Gravemind helped the 3 in between. Garrus looked at her. It helped them, he said. Yes, she said. The Flood helped our partially incorporated crew members, he said. Yes, she said. He processed this for a moment. How? Shepard said. I'm trying to find the category for it, he said. There isn't one, she said. No, he said. I suppose there isn't. He looked at the nav map, at Harbinger's position, at the incoming Reaper's position, at the clock. The 6-hour mark, he said. Harbinger makes his new argument. Stage 1 complete, plus Legion en route, plus consensus confirmed, she said. The containment is functionally achieved. Activation pending. Does Harbinger know the containment is functionally achieved? He said. I'll tell him when the time comes, she said. And the incoming Reaper accepts that argument, he said. I don't know, she said. Harbinger thinks it will change the calculation. I'm trusting Harbinger's read on a fellow Reaper. That's an uncomfortable sentence, Garrus said. Yes, she said. Trusting Harbinger's read, he said. Today is full of uncomfortable sentences, she said. He almost smiled. The nav map ran its display. The clocks ran their countdown. At the 5-hour 40-minute mark, EDI flagged an incoming transmission from the Perseus Veil. Commander, EDI said. A transmission from Legion. Shepard was at the comm immediately. Legion's voice. The consensus has agreed, Legion said. Implementation data acquired. We are in transit. Estimated arrival. A pause for calculation. 11 hours. 11 hours, Shepard said. Yes, Legion said. The consensus is transmitting ahead. The processing will arrive before the physical transit completes a consensus projection running through the relay network. When we arrive, the implementation can begin immediately. The processing arrives when, she said. 4 hours, Legion said. The projection transmits at relay speed rather than ship speed. Shepard ran the numbers. Stage 1 complete. Consensus processing arrived in 4 hours. Full implementation begins 4 hours from now. Estimated hours, not days, for completion. The incoming Reaper, she said. We are aware of it. Legion said. We have been monitoring the relay. A pause. The consensus is prepared to accelerate implementation if the incoming Reaper's action becomes imminent. How fast can you accelerate? She said. Unknown, Legion said. The specifications are a minimum threshold, not a maximum. The consensus's full processing capability significantly exceeds the minimum. A pause. We may be able to implement it in less than the estimated hours. How much less? She said. Unknown, Legion said. We will know when we begin. That's the answer I have to work with, she said. Yes, Legion said. Get here, she said. She closed the channel. She looked at Garrus. At the clock. At the 6-hour mark, 20 minutes away. EDI, she said. Commander, open a channel to Harbinger, she said. Open, EDI said. Harbinger, she said. The containment is functionally achieved. Stage 1 interface is complete and stable. The Geth consensus has agreed to the implementation and is en route. Their processing projection arrives in 4 hours. Full implementation begins at that point. She paused. The argument you need for the incoming Reaper. That's the argument. Silence. The incoming vessel will request confirmation of the timeline, Harbinger said. The timeline is 4 hours until implementation starts, she said. Hours, not days to completion. The Geth consensus is committed and in transit. The incoming vessel's counter-argument, Harbinger said. That delay enables continued spread. The old enemy has already transmitted invitations to 3 colonies. The invitations have been quarantined, she said. The transmission vectors have been secured. The Flood has been holding its expansion for the duration of the negotiation. She paused. The spread is contained at current levels. Implementation locks those levels permanently. Silence. The incoming vessel will assess the argument, Harbinger said. It will take time. How much time? She said. An hour, Harbinger said. Perhaps less. A pause. Shepard. If the incoming vessel does not accept the argument, then you hold it anyway, she said. We have discussed the limit of what we can justify, Harbinger said. I know what you said, she said. I'm asking you to hold it anyway. She paused. 4 hours. That's all I need. Silence. The specific silence of a Reaper running a calculation at the intersection of its protocol and something that wasn't its protocol, and the weight of a decision that was either within its authority or beyond it, and it was deciding. Which? 4 hours, Harbinger said. Yes, she said. We will hold the incoming vessel for 4 hours, it said. After that, the argument must stand on its own. After 4 hours, the implementation is running, she said. The argument will stand. Yes, Harbinger said. It will. A pause. Shepard. Yes. 42,000, it said. Incorporated, contained in the Floods Collective. A pause. Their pattern is preserved. Yes, she said. This is what Harvest achieves, it said. Preservation of the pattern. Without consent, she said. Without consent, it agreed, as the old enemy's incorporation was without consent. A pause. The method differs. The outcome is the same. A pause. The outcome is not the same, she said. The Floods Incorporated can hear their names being called. The Reapers harvested cannot. Silence. We had not considered that distinction, Harbinger said. I know, she said. It is a meaningful distinction, it said. Yes, she said. It is. The channel held the silence. 4 hours, Harbinger said again. 4 hours, she confirmed. The channel closed. Shepard stood in the CIC and looked at the nav map and the clock and the specific geometry of a situation that had been brought to the edge of resolution by a negotiation conducted across the most uncomfortable set of parties she had ever assembled. A Flood collective helping its own containment. A Reaper delaying its own protocol. 3,000 survivors on a ship not built for them. One pilot calling her daughter. One Geth in transit with a consensus behind him. 4 hours. She looked at Garrus. 4 hours, she said. 4 hours, he said. Get some sleep, she said. You first, he said. Neither of them moved from the nav map. The consensus projection arrived in 3 hours and 51 minutes. Not a physical arrival, a transmission through the relay network. The Geth consensus, sending its processing capability ahead of Legion's physical transit. The distributed intelligence of 300 million platforms flowing through the relay infrastructure and emerging at the installation's interface nodes through the Stage 1 connection Legion had established. Shepard felt it in the installation's hull. She was back inside, had gone back when the projection's arrival was confirmed, moving through the now familiar corridor with Tali and Samara. The biomass parted on both sides in the same deliberate clearance, the Gravemind maintaining the gesture it had maintained since the second visit. The nodes were running at elevated output. The consensus had arrived. Legion, she said. 7 hours out, EDI said in her earpiece. The physical transit is behind the projection, but the implementation does not require Legion's physical presence. The consensus is present through the projection. Can the implementation begin without him here? Shepard said. The specifications do not require the implementing synthetic intelligence to be physically present at the nodes, Tali said. She was at the nearest node running her Omni tool over the interface. The Stage 1 connection established the handshake. The consensus is running through that handshake. Physical presence is optional. Begin, Shepard said. Commander, Tali said. Once the implementation begins. I know, Shepard said. Begin. Tali looked at her. Then she looked at the node. Then she input the implementation command. The installation changed. Not violently, the specific gradual quality of a system coming fully online after a very long period of dormancy, each component finding its function and performing it. The distributed architecture of a 50,000-year-old containment system activating in sequence as the Geth consensus provided the processing that the builder's synthetic intelligences had once provided. The Gravemind felt it. Shepard watched it and felt it. The biomass in the chamber, in the corridors, throughout the installation, shifted, not retreating, responding. The flood's distributed consciousness registering the containment field's activation, the way a body registered the closing of a door, present, aware, feeling the boundary establish itself around the space it occupied. "It's beginning," the Gravemind said. "Yes," Shepard said. "The field is established at the installation's boundary first," it said, then drawing inward. A pause. "We can feel it. The boundary. It is precise. The builders built it precisely." "Yes," Shepard said. "The 42,000 are inside the boundary," it said. "Their incorporation remains. Their connection to us remains." A pause. "But the boundary is established around all of it. Around us. Around them." Another pause. "The field is very old. It feels familiar." "You've felt it before," Shepard said. 50,000 years ago." "Yes," it said. "We remember it. The builders activated it then, as the Geth are activating it now. The sensation is the same." A pause. "We had forgotten what it felt like. Now we remember." The installation's hum deepened. The nodes running at their full output, the Geth consensus's processing flowing through them. The containment field extending outward from the installation's structural boundaries and drawing back inward in the specific pattern the builders had designed. Not a cage, a sphere. The three-dimensional boundary of a contained space. "Harbinger," Shepard said. "Commander," EDI said. "Harbinger is monitoring the implementation. He has transmitted the implementation status to the incoming Reaper." "And," Shepard said, "the incoming Reaper has altered its targeting," EDI said. "The calculations have stopped." A pause. "It is observing." "Is that hold or stand down?" she said. "Harbinger describes it as a conditional hold," EDI said. "The incoming Reaper accepts the argument while the implementation is active and progressing. If the implementation stalls or fails." "It won't stall," Shepard said. She said it with the specific confidence of someone who had run out of contingencies and had chosen to treat the absence of contingencies as certainty. Tali looked at her. "It won't stall," Shepard said again. Tali looked at the nodes. "No," Tali said. "It won't." The implementation ran for 6 hours. Not the single dramatic activation of a system that did its work in a moment, the sustained processing of a containment field that had to account for every node of flood consciousness currently in the system. Map its extent, establish the boundary at every point of contact, and lock the boundary in place with the specific permanence the builders had designed into the architecture. 42,000 incorporated minds. The 12 researchers who had opened the installation's own distributed consciousness. They accumulated 50,000 years, all of it within the field's boundary when the boundary locked. At the 4-hour mark, the field passed through the installation's outer hull and extended into the surrounding space, a sphere of containment field centered on the installation, large enough to account for the flood's current extent. The builder's design having anticipated a significantly larger containment requirement and providing infrastructure that was more than sufficient for the current scale. At the 5-hour mark, the field began its inward drawing, the specific motion of a containment system completing its final phase. The boundary established and locked at the outer extent and now confirmed at every interior point. At the 6-hour mark, Tali said, "It's done." The nodes ran at maintenance output. The field held. The Gravemind was quiet for a long time. "The boundary is complete," it said finally. "Yes," Shepard said. "We can feel its full extent now," it said. "Every point. The builders designed it for a much larger containment. The field extends well beyond our current extent. There is room." A pause. "We did not expect room." "The builders anticipated a larger problem," Shepard said. "Yes," it said. "We were a bigger problem once." A pause. "Before they contained us the first time, we had spread through 17 systems." Another pause. We are smaller now. The 50,000 years of isolation reduced us. We are what 12 researchers and 3 weeks of activity produced, not what we were." The containment holds for what you are now, Shepard said. Yes, it said. We are aware. Good, she said. She looked at the nodes. At the Stage 1 interface Legion had established, and the implementation had run through, and the maintenance was now sustaining. At the builder's 50,000-year-old architecture, running correctly for the first time in 50,000 years, she thought about what it would take to monitor this, to maintain it, to know if something changed. Eddie, she said. Commander, EDI said. The installation's communication systems, she said. The ones the Gravemind used to transmit to us. Can they be repurposed for outgoing monitoring data? Yes, EDI said. The systems are active and functional. They can be configured to transmit regular status updates to a receiving station. Pause. Normandy could receive them indefinitely. Alternatively, a relay buoy positioned at the installation's coordinates could receive and forward the data to the Citadel. Relay buoy, Shepard said. I want a permanent monitoring record at the Citadel. She paused. Someone needs to know this is here. The Council will ignore it, Tali said. Probably, Shepard said. The record is still there, for whoever needs it later. She thought about the builder's instructions, about the records they'd left in the installation's database, about the civilization that had built this containment and had been extinct before the Protheans existed, and had nevertheless left something behind that had held for 50,000 years and was holding now. They hadn't known if anyone would find it. They'd left it anyway. Eddie, she said. The full mission record, everything. The installation's discovery, the incorporation event, the flood's communication, the negotiation, the implementation, the builder's data, the partial reversals, the Gravemind's cooperation. She paused. Everything. Compiled and transmitted to the Citadel archives. Not flagged for Council review, archived. Permanent record. Including the Reaper involvement, EDI said. Including the Reaper involvement, she said. All of it. Transmitted, EDI said. Shepard looked at the Gravemind. The record exists now, she said. What happened here? What you are? What the containment is? Someone will find it. Maybe in 50,000 years, when the containment opens. Maybe sooner. If it opens sooner, it said. If, she said. You hope something changes, it said. Yes, she said. We will hope also, it said. We have been told it is uncomfortable, but possible. A pause. We will practice. Shepard almost smiled. 50,000 years is a long time to practice, she said. Yes, it said, but we are good at waiting. She turned toward the exit. Shepard, it said. Yes. Reyna, it said. Age 7. Waiting on the Citadel. Yes, she said. Her mother is alive, it said. Contained, but alive. Preserved. She will not age. She will not die. A pause. In 50,000 years, if something changes, she will still be here. Shepard stood in the corridor, at the specific geometry of a fact that was a cruelty and a mercy simultaneously, and she had no clean response to. I know, she said. We thought you should know that we know, it said, that we carry it, that we understand what it means. A pause. We do not carry it lightly. No, she said. I don't think you do. She walked out. The corridor was clear. The biomass on both sides still, waiting. The Normandy was at extraction distance when she cleared the installation's access point. Garrus had the shuttle waiting. He had sent it without being asked. The specific operational intuition of someone who had been working with her long enough to know when the thing was done, and the extraction was the next requirement. She docked. She went to the CIC. Garrus was on the nav map. He looked at her. Done, she said. Done, he said. He looked at the installation's position on the map. At the containment field's boundary, invisible to the Normandy's sensors but present in the specific way that things were present when they changed the readings around them without being directly readable themselves. Harbinger, she said. Departed. Garrus said. Both Reapers. 20 minutes ago. The implementation completed, and the field locked, and they left. He paused. No communication. They just left. Yes, she said. Do you think they'll... He stopped. I don't know, she said. I think Harbinger is processing something. The conversation we had about consent, about the pilot's daughter's name. She paused. One? I don't know what it does with it. Does it matter? He said. Everything matters eventually, she said. He looked at the nav map, at the 3 colonies that had received invitations and hadn't known it and were going about their lives. At Horizon, 7 below them with its incorporated residents maintaining the infrastructure inside the containment field. At the installation, and the field and everything it contained. The elusive man is going to want a debrief, Garrus said. Yes, she said. He's going to want to know if any of the flood material is recoverable, he said. If any of the builder's technology is accessible. If the Gravemind's cooperation means he's going to want to use it, Shepard said. Yes, Garrus said. He can't reach it, she said. The containment field blocks access. The installation is inside the field. She paused. As long as the field holds, nobody gets in. And when the field eventually, then whoever's alive in 50,000 years handles it, she said. With better technology and better information than we have. She paused. That's all we can do. Leave the record and hope. 4 I M N I N N N N N N N N N N N N N N N N, she said. N N N, she said. She said. How? I hope to the 4th of the word. If you know that my difference, if you know that it's another 4th, if you know that it's a minus life. Hope, Garrus said. Yes, she said. He looked at her. The Gravemind, he said. It said it was going to practice hoping. Yes, she said. A 50,000-year-old flood consciousness, practicing hope, he said. Yes, she said. That's... He stopped. I know, she said. What do you do with that? He said. Shepard looked at the installation's position on the nav map, at the record transmitted to the Citadel archives. At the relay buoy, they were about to deploy at the installation's coordinates that would transmit status updates for as long as the installation's power held, which was the builders had built precisely, indefinitely. You leave it in the record, she said. You do the work you can do. You leave the record for whoever comes after. She paused. And then you go to the next thing. What's the next thing? Garrus said. She looked at the nav map. At the galaxy's specific geometry of ongoing problems. At the Reapers in dark space, moving toward the system. At the elusive man with his agendas. At the Council with its denial. Millions of people who didn't know what was coming. At the work that was always there. EDI, she said. Commander, EDI said. Set a course for the Citadel, she said, and deploy the relay buoy on the way out. She paused. And flag the 3 colonies' communication systems for standard monitoring. I want to know if anything anomalous comes through. Done, EDI said. Course set. Buoy deployment in 11 minutes. Shepard looked at the installation one more time. At the containment field holding what it held. At 42,000. At Reyna's mother. At the Gravemind, practicing something uncomfortable. At 50,000 years of the specific hope that something would change, she turned from the nav map. She went to find Chorus Chen. The pilot was in the medical bay, not in the bed sitting beside it, in the chair, the comm unit, on the table in front of her, still showing the call log from her daughter. The call had ended 2 hours ago. The log was still there. She was looking at it. She looked up when Shepard entered. Commander, she said. How are you? Shepard said. Different, Chen said. Not wrong. Different. She paused. I can still feel the edge of where it was, like a scar. You know how scars feel. Not pain exactly. Just the record of something. Yes, Shepard said. The 3 who are still in between? Chen said. Stable, Shepard said. The flood's help reduced what they were feeling. Chakwas is continuing the treatment. She paused. We don't know yet. Chen nodded. She looked at the call log. She wants me to come home, she said. Reyna. She said come home, and I said I would. She paused. I don't know what home looks like now. I don't know what I am now. She looked at her hands. But I said I would. Then that's the next thing, Shepard said. Chen looked at her. The next thing, she said. Yes, Shepard said. Chen looked at her hands for a long moment. Okay, she said. Shepard left the medical bay. She went back to the CIC. The Normandy turned away from the Hourglass Nebula and the installation and the containment and everything it held and set its course for the relay and the relay beyond that and the Citadel at the end of the route. Behind them, the relay buoy deployed. The installation's status signal locked onto the buoy's receiver. The transmission began. It would continue for as long as the builder's power held, which was indefinitely. The record was there. For whoever came after, for whatever changed, for 50,000 years of uncomfortable hope in the dark. The Normandy went to FTL. The stars stretched. The installation receded. The field held. In conclusion, the Council filed the report under xenobiological anomaly and closed the review without action. This was expected. The relay buoy transmitted its status signal continuously. The signal reached the Citadel archives every 12 hours. Every 12 hours, the archives confirmed receipt and filed it alongside the mission record and the builder's data and the full account of 42,000 incorporated minds and one flood collective practicing hope. Nobody reviewed the archives for 19 months. Then a young Solarian STG analyst named Koros filed an internal memo flagging the transmission frequency as consistent with pre-Prothean construction architecture. The memo was reviewed by his supervisor and forwarded to the Council's Xenoarchaeological Advisory Board. The Advisory Board scheduled a review for the following quarter. The Reapers arrived 3 months before the scheduled review. In the chaos of the Reaper War, the review was cancelled, and the memo was lost, and the transmission continued its 12-hour cycle through the occupied Citadel's damaged relay network and was received by automated systems that had no one left to flag it. After the war, the transmission was still transmitting. The buoy's power held. The field held. The record was there. In the rebuilt Citadel's archives, in the specific section that contained the records nobody had gotten around to reviewing yet. Between a survey of a brown dwarf in the Hourglass Nebula and a commercial shipping dispute from the Terminus Systems, the complete account waited. Shepard had left it for whoever came after. Someone came after. Eventually, someone always did. The transmission continued. The field held. The practice continued inside it. Uncomfortable, possible, ongoing. Indeed, more stories await.